So here we are then, we're back. This is episode 1, shall we say, of Wrestle DX plus Alpha. Of course, we're here to talk about wrestling, we're here to talk about games. This is Kev, I'm Kristian, so we're here just to chill out, talk shit, and talk anything that comes to our mind. So, of course, this week is vitally important, I guess. If you're a fan of wrestling and have been for a very long time, you know the Hart Foundation made up a significant portion of the 80s and 90s wrestling dynasties that happened. And of course, this week we've got to think about and talk about Jim Neidhart. He's passed on this week, yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, it's a sad day, especially if you're a Hart Foundation fan, of the original Hart Foundation fan.
Yeah, because I was thinking about, so what was he good? What was he most famous for? Man, you were a WWE fan at that time. You know, what was the pull? What drew you to watching his matches?
Do you know the crazy thing is the hot pink? I thought it was insane that a tag team so good would be dressed in pink.
Well, it's the pink and black. That's kind of like the moniker of the Hearts, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they had such spectacular matches. The dichotomy of Bret's technical skill and the Anvil's just sheer power and somewhat madness as well. That crazy laugh and that beard.
I can actually do that with a beard, you know. No, it was great. I mean, I can remember matches like I loved where a tag team isn't the same kind of two characters, where you have just two like kind of brawn guys or just two tech guys or two high flying. The Hart Foundation tag team of Bret and Neidhart was really good because there were vastly different kind of guys, so you could put them into kind of lots of different match types against lots of different tag teams, where they always have a very unique match. They could focus more on the heavy hitting, sometimes more on the technical side. So the idea was that you could separate the ring in half, and it actually looked believable.
Yeah, I always thought that their matches were just top notch. And at that time, tag team wrestling was very high on the WWE's agenda. I mean, you had tag teams like the Legion of Doom, Axe and Smash Demolition, you had the Killer Bees, you had the Brainbusters. There was a lot of talented tag teams back there. Of course, the Bulldogs as well.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express. I'm sure they crossed paths many times out there as well. I was actually going through the WWE Network the other day, right, and I came across. We were looking at the hidden gems section of WWE Network, and one of them was a tag team match, and it was the Bulldogs versus Ric Flair and somebody who I don't remember. How bad is that? And actually, this match was a 5-minute segment, but actually was really good. You know, it was a nice thing to watch. I think tag teams at that time really had a presence on the WWE stage. Nowadays, I don't think WWE seems to think too much about its tag teams being high on the card. They appear to put two guys together, merge their names, and go, "You're a tag team now."
Yeah, it's rather irritating. I mean, it's apparently Vince McMahon doesn't like tag team wrestling, which is hilarious because at certain times, tag team wrestling's been just a focal point of the WWE in the 2000s, the late 90s, 2000s. You had Edge and Christian, you had the Hardys, the Dudleys, the APA, all very famous, which we still talk about today.
Yeah, you do. I guess like it. So when I think about Team 3D, the Dudleys, they really are the world champions of tag team wrestling. So when I think of like guys who are like Stone Cold and The Rock and the guys who and Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, I also think, well, the world champions actually are the tag team champions. How come they're never in the world title main event spot?
And it's hilarious as well because more often than not, the tag team titles for the WWE are pushed to pre-show more often than not.
Yeah. I guess.
In fact,
I go for it, man.
In fact, last year at SummerSlam, they made the mistake of putting the New Day versus the Usos. I'm sure it was for the tag team titles of SmackDown on the pre-show, and they just went, "Well, do you know what? We're going to make you sorry you did that, and we're going to have the best match on the card." And they did. That was a spectacular match. If you have not seen that, go back to SummerSlam last year, check out the pre-show. New Day, Usos, fantastic. Best pre-show match probably ever.
It's a bit weird because they have so much talent that it's a bit hard not to put people on the pre-show because you want them to compete at the biggest events of the year, and then you're stuck with a card that already it suddenly goes to 5 hours, 6 hours. Hey, SummerSlam potentially 7 hours. WrestleMania was.
I know, it's insane. It's a lot of wrestling to take in. I mean, do you know? I do believe that it's time for them to start possibly doing what New Japan does and spread it over 2 nights.
Yeah.
I mean, technically they do that with NXT Takeover on the Saturday, and then the main pay-per-view on the Sunday.
Yeah, but I guess the NXT does feel and act like a different brand, though, doesn't it? You know, it's not your show doesn't carry over. That's an entirely separate roster.
No, it's the way that the brand extension should have always been.
Well, have like SmackDown one night, Raw the next.
They don't though, do they? I mean, they do the whole Superstar Shake-Up every year, which for one night is exciting and all that. But why don't they just do what they used to do? Not I say that. When you had Raw versus Nitro, you had no idea who was going to turn up, where, and when, and why. And then someone would just be on the other show, and this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Why not do that? Why not do that? Why can't AJ Styles go, do you know what? I lost the title last night. I'm sick of that damn brand. I'm over here on Raw.
Yeah.
I'm here to shake things up on Raw.
Yeah, give me a shot at your world champion. Yeah, and see how it goes.
And doing it one by one is a lot better. I mean, when they do the Superstar Shake-Up, they do this annoying thing where someone moves to the other brand and then they end up facing the same guy that was facing from the previous brand.
Yeah.
Why even move them?
Yeah, why even move them, indeed? Because do they actually have us? Because I get the impression sometimes you got the same guys on both shows sometimes. I don't know if that's just me, but I guess I don't follow it enough. I don't follow WWE enough to know who actually is on what brand generally. I don't know who your main guys are on Raw, apart from Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. And I'm aware that on SmackDown you got like basically the TNA guys.
Yes, it's pretty much.
Yeah.
But no, they do actually keep them separate. They have done that, but they did that with the original brand extension. They did keep him completely separate for a few years, and then like the top guys kind of started creeping onto both shows. I mean, still, John Cena's allowed to turn up on both because he's John Cena and he can do whatever he feels like.
Well, I'm pretty sure if The Rock's in the arena, he's going on the show just because people will be like, woo!
Yeah, but The Rock's only turning up on Raw. We all know that.
Well, even though the SmackDown is his show, it's his name on that show.
But it hasn't turned up on SmackDown since, 2003 or something?
Wow.
Before?
So I guess we've got a bit of a running card going on here. So, dude, I can see you've got a mention here of Dean Ambrose returning to WWE Raw this week. So what's that all about? What's the story? What's the story going into that?
Well, Seth Rollins is feuding with Dolph Ziggler, and he's got his backup with Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins made a late arrival on Raw for the contract signing. Dolph signed. Rollins turned up, and he said that he hadn't signed it and didn't want to sign it until Dolph had already signed it, so he could introduce the man in his corner, Dean Ambrose, who is now sporting a shaved head and a big beard.
The hair thing of Dean Ambrose was looking a bit weird. He had this kind of like slightly fuzz, and it was obviously receding at the front, and it didn't look quite right. So I'm kind of glad if he has shaved his head, that actually must be a good look for him. And the beard, anything like this one?
No, it's actually it's just a shaved down beard. I don't know why.
So he doesn't look like he's in the mirror universe of Star Trek then.
But for him, it's odd. I mean, I did actually see a quote online, someone saying he looks like a mini Triple H, a lowercase h, if you will.
That's quite good, man. So any other big moves on Raw this week?
No, the usual Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman doing all the heavy lifting between the two of them.
So going in,
they're going to have a
so
match
this is like
SummerSlam,
this is the go home week, isn't it, of Raw? So we're going into SummerSlam this weekend.
Yes.
So this is the big go home show. So what do you think? SmackDown. What happened there?
Well, SmackDown doesn't happen until tonight.
Oh yeah, it's Tuesday. Oh yeah. So yeah.
It's
So what do you think? I actually managed to catch Lucha Underground this week. I haven't caught Impact. It's always interesting to find out what the other shows are going to be doing around the time that the other companies' big shows are going to be going out, because There was that infamous story where Eric Bischoff says he never pushed any big stories around WrestleMania because there's no point because everyone's going to watch WWE for that time. So I can't do. I was going to say, do Impact do the same thing? Impact's technically almost live again.
I don't think Impact will. I mean, Impact, they're not the contender they could have been, 10 years ago? Not really. They've lost all the stars. They're building new stars, but it's taken them 10 years to do that. As I've said before, they never should have let AJ Styles go.
No.
And AJ Styles tearing it up on SmackDown now just means that, they shouldn't have let him go. Not ever. If he wanted a pay rise, they should have thrown the vault at him.
Yeah, I agree. But apparently that's what they did. They said, just sign here, you can have any amount you want. But I guess once you've done everything in a company, what's there left to do? It's like if you're Team 3D or you're the Dudleys and you've done everything and got every title in the company, what are you there for other than say open the show or just sit there at high and mid card and just do the same match over and over again? Do you not feel that sometimes guys need to do an experiment somewhere else? Just for a time being, just so it's fresh, and then come back and do it all again.
It's difficult. It depends on who it is and if they can reinvent themselves. I mean, The Undertaker's done over 20 years. We're at nearly 30 years, and he hasn't left the WWE.
That's true, I guess once you're in the top company, do you need to go anywhere else? But I guess for some guys, it's worth it.
I mean, you say that, but look at Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
He's worked every top company in the world, and now he's got to a point in his life that he can do his music, and he can wrestle, anywhere he wants. And as long as they're gonna, break out the bank book and pay him a nice hefty fee.
No, I haven't seen the actual story, but I am aware that he's got some kind of thing going on with Impact at the moment.
Yes, he's got the Chris Jericho cruise.
Yeah.
Apparently he's working with Ring of Honor for it, but has some Impact Wrestling talent on board.
Yeah, because Don Callis, of course, is a big part of that. So I guess
he's also lined up a match. I can't remember the match offhand that Jericho will be part of. It's Jericho and the Bucks against, I'm sure it's Omega, Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, and Rey Mysterio.
Is it Rey Mysterio?
I think so.
I thought it was.
Which is just going to be incredible.
That's quite a big match.
I still wonder, are they actually going to be taking cameras and recording the crews out for a live show, or is it purely the fact that if you want to see any of these matches, you've got to get a cruise ticket?
I'm not sure. I mean, if Ring of Honor are there, I'm sure they would like to record something.
I think New Japan are on there, Impact's on there, Lucha Underground's on there. There's guys from up and down America, so I think for a wrestling fan, that cruise is going to be fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, and then of course you're on there for a few days as well. There's no way you're not bumping into Chris Jericho at some point.
Just at the bar.
Yeah, it's just so he can tell you that you're a stupid idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. So this weekend then, so we got NXT Takeover. You got WWE SummerSlam. It's their big match of the summer. So what matches are headlining? What's going on?
Right, for our Takeover Brooklyn 4. Leading the charge will be Tommaso Ciampa defending his NXT title. Yes, Tommaso Ciampa, the NXT champion, against Johnny Gargano in a last man standing match.
Now, I can't help but think there's WWE are kind of going, so you see what them guys are doing over in Japan, with Kenny Omega and Okada. We need you to recreate that magic here in NXT. And I think, when I think of Gargano and Ciampa, I feel that they have that same kind of connection with the fans and their matches have that same level of caliber, and they kind of feel that they're doing the one up. So you win, I win, and it's like there's a bit of a to the time limit, and then they'll do the big blow off show.
Now, what you have to remember about this is originally this was supposed to be a triple threat. Aleister Black was supposed to be in this, and the last man standing match stipulation was actually for the last takeover. They cancelled the last man standing and turned it into a no disqualification match because they already had a last man standing match on the main card for Extreme Rules.
Right, yeah, so it moved over. So
terrible.
Yeah, it's no point doing the match twice on the same weekend, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ciampa and Gargano was definitely going to do it better, and they will this weekend.
Yeah, because NXT, as always, does a much better job than the main show consistently. Even WrestleMania weekend, it did
Oh,
it.
every time it's ridiculous. It's just unbelievable. I cannot understand how the main roster take such talented people and just go, right, well, anything you've done in NXT where you were good, and you're going out there and doing a 3-minute match like it was 2002.
Yeah, just do a 4-minute match here. Just do a couple of spots.
Yeah.
Average roll-up pin, job done. It's terrible.
And it's unbelievable that it just seems that there are only certain guys that are allowed to have a decent match. I mean, Seth Rollins consistently great match. Finn Balor can have a great match still when he's not fighting Corbin for the 400th time this week, and we'll do again at SummerSlam. Yay! But anyway, we're drifting off again. Takeover Brooklyn. We also have the battling Brits of Mustache Mountain as Tyler Bate and Trent Seven have reenacted their clause for the tag titles as they go after Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong's tag team titles for NXT.
So basically, you've got like Undisputed Era, and the British guys going to be going at it. And I think their 4 guys actually could probably be match of the night if Gargano and Ciampa. That could be an equally a good match. That's going to be top of the card almost. We're going whether it be 5-star or not, I guess by the Meltzer rating, I don't know, but they always put on a good show.
Oh yeah, I mean the first 2 matches against each other was great. Their first match in this tag team formula was done the first time at the UK tournament a couple of months back, and that's when the Mustache Mountain took the titles. And then at a NXT taping, the Undisputed Era took the titles back in a fantastic match. They really worked over Seven's knee, and in the end, they used the compassion of Tyler Bate, who threw the towel in to hand the titles back over to the Undisputed Era. It was a thing of beauty. If you haven't seen it,
I haven't seen this particular the last couple of weeks of NXT, but I think the towel. I don't think the story is used enough. The fact that your tag team partner, potentially could throw the towel in and end the match. I mean, it's done perhaps once a year in like SmackDown or whatever on the WWE, so you don't see it spot often enough.
The last time I saw that, I'm sure it was when Owen convinced his mother to throw the towel in for Brett. So Bob Backlund took the title from Bret Hart back in like 94.
Yeah, I've seen it done a couple of times in Impact and TNA. But no, I can't think of a WWE time when they've done that.
But for the WWE, that's the last time that I remember it, and I have watched a lot of WWE matches.
Yeah, that perhaps it's a spot not used too often. It's like, I don't know. It's an interesting one. So a women's title right on there as well.
Oh, that's right. Shayna Baszler will be defending against Kairi Sane.
Yeah, who's like, I'm a pirate, and no, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass. I will beat her. I saw that.
One-eyed Willie.
I saw that little promo between, and she's like, "I will win," and like, you got William Regal sitting there going, this is the most unconvincing fucking promo I've ever seen.
Oh dear God!
I did spot that. Oh, that was dead.
I hope her promos improve with time, but still,
yeah,
it should be a good match. I can't imagine that it wouldn't be. Shayna Baszler keeps finding a way.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people wasn't ready for the Shayna Baszler versus Nikki Cross match. I liked that match.
It was good. It was good.
It was more about the theatre of the match more than it was the wrestling, and I liked it.
Yeah, same here. Same. So is that rounded up the card for NXT?
Oh no. And Adam Cole will be defending the NXT North American title against Ricochet.
Now Ricochet's out, isn't he? He's got injured, isn't he?
Just can't see that being anything but great.
But Ricochet's injured now, isn't he? He's done his ankle.
Apparently he's injured himself, but they've kept him off of everything. I mean, they ran a segment on the last taping where Undisputed Era just dragged out Ricochet unconscious onto the ramp, and that's how they just did that. They didn't beat him up or they didn't cause him to do anything else. He's ran a couple of promos over this month, and the Undisputed just dragged him out onto the ramp for this last NXT taping.
Okay, that's quite good.
So I think that they've just rested him up so they can still have this match.
Yeah, I think it needs to happen. Adam Cole needs someone of his caliber, and I guess you're not going to get a better guy than Ricochet. And so I was listening to Ricochet on Edge and Christian's podcast a few months ago about how his character is now developing. The Performance Center is all about character and about how to build a connection with your audience. He was on another show this week also where he was saying about how a lot of people keep messaging saying his Prince Puma was better than his Ricochet character, because Ricochet currently doesn't connect with the audience too well. He's known for doing his high flying, his old dives and stuff, but actually his personality doesn't shine through yet, so he's still trying to find that connection with his WWE audience. And he's hoping to obviously try and do that this time round at his NXT show.
I can see the problem that people say with that. But the thing is, you've also got to take into consideration he's not had that much airtime.
No, he's not.
I mean, they signed him. He had some time to learn the WWE way. And then they've put him through a couple of matches and such. And then being hurt, so he's been kept off TV most of this month. So again, no character building there. So it's difficult for him to build his character when he's not on TV.
No, so I guess that's it. There's nothing. You can't talk. You're not talking to anybody. So we're going to move into SummerSlam. That's Saturday.
Oh, hang on.
No.
You're jumping the gun. There's one more match. And let's have a little bit of Velveteen Dream against EC3.
Ooh. So I love EC3's character. I love the fact that he's this arrogant dick who's just appears to be rolling in money. He's very good. He's very suave. He's sophisticated. And he can go out there and have a good match. Velveteen Dream, of course, is like probably the biggest up-and-coming star off NXT. Certainly going to hit the main roster by the end of the year. He's certainly found his stride. I'd be interested to see how these two guys are going to mix it up. Is it a standard match, is it, for the title?
It's just a standard match. It's the only match on the card that is not a title match.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No, it doesn't need to be. I mean, Velveteen Dream is just special enough. And EC3, I mean, when he came in, I just thought it was just going to be just a big meathead. But he's definitely got a charisma. He's got his character. He knows who he is.
Yeah.
From his Batum years where he left NXT original and come back as EC3, he knows who he is. He has his character. And he knows what he's doing in the ring. You can see his comfort.
Yeah. So is that the whole card wrapped up?
That is all of TakeOver.
All right, cool. So who do you think is going to win main event? Is it going to be Ciampa? Are they going to go to Johnny?
Ciampa's taking it. I can't see him giving him the belt for, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough that they gave Sami Zayn the title for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And they just gave it back to Owen. Gave it to Owens.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that Ciampa is a heel. He's a hated heel. I mean, I saw him he was tweeting movie spoilers on his Twitter feed. Just an absolute dick.
See, that's the thing about Tommaso Ciampa. He is possibly the best heel in NXT right now. The fans hate him.
I love the no music. The
They
no music
absolutely
works
hate
so
him.
well.
Yeah. Especially that big guy that's always in the corner of the audience. You're the devil, Ciampa! You're the devil! Oh,
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
I saw that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever hated enough to scream at them the devil, but
No.
he is definitely the biggest heel NXT's possibly ever had. He's not a cool heel like Owens was or Cole is. He is just a dirty, rotten, nasty get. No one likes him. Everyone hates him.
I just when I saw him putting
And
movie
that's why
spoilers
he
out,
wins.
it's just like, oh, that's great. How do you get people to hate you? Well, you get them to hate you. Do things they don't like.
Beat up Johnny Gargano, apparently.
Yeah, the guy with only 2 facial expressions.
Apparently so.
So SummerSlam then. SummerSlam's going to be coming up this weekend. So let's just cover what the main events of the card is. I guess you've got women's title, I guess, is on the line. Ronda Rousey, isn't it?
Yes, Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
So I guess
It's a difficult one to call. I don't know if they actually will put the belt on Rousey. I mean, Bliss is at the title long enough now to possibly lose it. I mean, she's a 5-time champion. It's not going to hurt her
No.
at all. but it's still too early for Ronda Rousey to be a champion.
So how green is her matches? Yeah, I mean, I haven't caught any of her matches at all since it's been a Raw and Tag Team
She's
stuff.
surprisingly good, to be honest. I mean, Dave Meltzer gave her match at WrestleMania possibly the highest score of the entire card.
Yeah, it was probably the best match on the card. You know, it was just a nice, simple, interesting match that had a nice bit of divergence in there with Triple H and Kurt Angle and stuff, but actually the match seemed to work.
The thing is, though, if you're in a match with Triple H, Kurt Angle, and Stephanie McMahon, if you're not having a good match,
Yeah, you're in the wrong business. Yeah.
Because anybody can say what they want about the McMahons, they will kill themselves to make sure whatever match they're in, it is the best.
Yeah, it's believe.
The best they can do. They will overachieve in that match.
Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. That's what you have to say about them. So what's the main event? Is it Seth Rollins versus Owens?
Oh no, we all know what the main event will be. It will be Lesnar versus Reigns for the the Universal title.
No one cares about that. People care about the IC title right now, which is now the main belt on Raw.
And also because I know we have seen Ziggler versus Rollins a couple of times now. Who cares? Both of them are spectacular. And now they've got the wild card of McIntyre and Ambrose outside the ring.
So are they just going to eventually just brawl with each other outside the ring? And one will eventually...
Yeah, definitely. They're going to play their hand, and I think Ziggler will probably get away with the title.
So what else is on the main event card? Because we got a 6-hour card to cover here, so we're obviously not going to fill 6 hours of chat here. So we're moving on pretty swiftly. But other matches, what's going to be the highlights?
Oh, definitely. For the very first time ever in a WWE ring, Samoa Joe will be challenging AJ Styles for the WWE title, which is just so weird to even say.
Yeah.
Joe Styles, WWE title. Wow.
I mean, I can remember when, obviously I watched TNA back in the day, and I can remember when Joe came in as this absolute killer big guy and had the most amazing matches against AJ. And I can remember the build-up that there was for their feud, and then it went on to include Daniels, and they had that match at Unbreakable, which is still considered to be TNA's best match. It's going to be interesting to see what WWE do with that.
Hopefully they just go, you've got a title belt, this is the finish.
Just go. Just have fun. Because that is the thing.
Go out there, this is your time.
Is it going to be exhibition style, where there as a bit of flow back and forward, where you get the crowd on the wrestling side as opposed to he's a heel, he's a face? It'd be interesting to see how they play this one out.
It's difficult to say. I mean, everyone loves AJ Styles. It's difficult to not. But everybody loves that unstoppable killing machine that is Samoa Joe as well.
Yeah.
So I think the fans are going to be 50-50 on this.
Oh, is Joe heel right now?
He is, yes.
Right.
He's made very personal comments about Styles' family, and now he's never home, and now he's not a good dad or a good husband and that. So
it's a fair enough way
they've kept it on a personal level between the two of them, but yet very limited interaction.
Well, it's a good way of doing it, actually, because that means they're going to get in the ring and have I guess for the WE audience, they haven't seen this kind of match yet, so they're going to see it perhaps for the first time, and then both know it's going to work.
Yeah, see what both of them have got inside the 20x20 ring of the WWE.
And of course, now we're going to be missing the Muscle Buster.
Yes, but Samoa Joe's a good enough wrestler to break out something special, and he may even break that out.
Oh, the thing is, he was using
Sorry.
the Misawa's finisher. He was using the Emerald Fusion for a while as well. It'll be interesting to see if he actually uses that. I think he called it the Island Driver, but yeah, it's a Misawa's driver.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go with Joe. I mean, Joe's got a depth of moves that he can just dip into whenever he feels like and pull something different out every time.
Yeah.
And Styles is just the master of selling and taking some damn good shots.
Yeah, he is. So are they the matches to watch then? So they are. So your prediction then? So who's going to win the WWE main title then, for the Universal title rather?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I mean, it should be Reigns now. It should be. but there's still the chance that Lesnar's going to stick around until like his testing pool has been cleared, and then he'll piss off to the
which
UFC.
is January, isn't it? So he's going to drop it sometime between now and then, I guess. So
I'd say so.
a guy at work, he's like, "Oh, he's going to drop the belt." I'm like, "I don't think so. I think he's going to keep it."
Well, they've done that twice already with the greatest Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania. Both times,
But it'll make you hate Brock Lesnar even more if he wins.
I think the whole Lesnar thing's run its course now, just because he's had the title so long and his matches are so samey. He's really got to like someone. I mean, his match with AJ Styles is definitely his best match of last year, easily. Possibly his best match of this run.
Yeah. Because he had some pretty inventive matches, actually. I can remember, like, was it 2004 when he had his match against the Big Show, it was like a casket match, I think it was, and he lifted him up on a forklift truck or something.
Oh, no, that was the stretcher match.
That was it, stretcher match. I thought that was different enough. He certainly had some killer heel runs, but right now he's just hating because he's a dick, right? Because he just doesn't show up. But,
yeah, that's it. And
but that's
trying to get over the fact that he doesn't care about the WWE. He doesn't care about any of you, none of you. He doesn't care. And Reigns is the guy to stop his evil reign of terror of the WWE because he's there all the time. He loves you.
But I guess then if Reigns takes it, will it be enough to convince the casual fan that Reigns is the man? But is that really going to be enough to convince the actual wrestling fans like us, you and I, and those dedicated going, that's just fucking WWE in it?
No, it won't. What they should have done is what they did with New Day. They should have tried to make him face. The fans rejected it. Turn him heel. Turn him the meanest heel. And then the fans would have just come around to him like they did with New Day.
Yeah.
Look at New Day. New Day are over. They are so over as faces. They can't do anything wrong.
No, and it's very difficult to see what they could do what isn't face now. Because they are they're silly, they're lovable, they have their YouTube channel and they've got a fan base. You wouldn't want to sacrifice that by making them heel.
No, I mean there's been rumors that they wanted to break up the New Day, but the New Day members have all said why would you break us up? We're money together. There's nothing saying that we can't be singles wrestlers but still be in our group.
Yeah, WWE doesn't like that at all. I mean, there's a really interesting similarity there. So with, say, New Japan, which I guess we're going to be coming on to next with the G1 Climax having just finished. In Japan, you got guys who actually, they're singles guys, actively in tag teams, and three-way tag teams, and in factions, sometimes multiple factions within a faction. And everyone is still kind of like, well, you can do your own thing. As in WWE, you are doing one thing, you fit one mold only. But is that because their audience generally is much younger, so therefore they have to cater to a simpler mindset, do you think?
Well, I think the WWE's faction-based ideas is it's a three-man team, and they can still do the tag team thing of they can switch up the team members. They do it all the time now. They did it with the Wyatts, the Shield, Undisputed Era, Sanity. They all do the three-man team switching in and out.
Okay. No, I wasn't aware they actually did that often. I thought they were just doing that mainly with the Undisputed Era, but I wasn't aware the other guys did that as well.
Well, they only do that with the Undisputed Era. That's why there's 4 members in the Undisputed Era, because Bobby Fish is injured.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It has been all this year, so they needed Strong. Because they did make a play for Strong when they first came in.
And that made sense.
Strong rejected it, and then him turning on Pete Dunne to join the Undisputed Era, it made more sense for him to do that.
Yeah, it did. I think it was a good turn as well, actually, and he's done quite well ever since. I quite like his matches as well.
Yeah, he's a fantastic wrestler. His stuff in the ring is just brilliant.
Yeah, and,
although to be honest, over a few months back, it was ridiculous because he'd gone for Pete Dunne's UK title. He was in the Cruiserweight title tournament. He'd gone for the tag titles with Pete Dunne. He'd gone for so many titles. I think he also had a title match for the NXT Championship.
Yeah, that was
In a few months, he had 4 or 5 different titles all on the radar, and he failed at every one. So I guess that kind of ties into why he joined the Undisputed Era, because he felt frustrated that he wasn't
Yeah, ties it quite well.
taking that next step.
Some mod bikes around here, as it is. So did G1 Climax, man. That's what I want to talk about.
Oh yes,
Dude, what? And that I've watched maybe, because it really is the most grueling, perhaps, league of wrestling there is for an entire month. 28 days of non-stop 4-hour shows, putting on match classics each and every time because you're expected to, because the fans want to see fighting spirit from each and every match. So you had obviously Block A, you had Block B, and basically everyone fought each other round robin in each block over the course of those 28 days. And then, so Group A kind of took all the singles matches for one night, and then Group B took tag matches for that night, and then the next day it swapped back around. So you had Group B doing all the singles matches for points, and obviously technically it was a lesser night because you worked tag team matches on the opposite night. But it didn't stop you having to put out, a grueling tag team match that in WWE's eyes would be a pay-per-view quality match. And you had to do that 28 days in a row. Man, that is grueling.
it is. But once they finish these tours, they do get a few weeks off. I mean,
Yeah.
now the G1's complete. The next event's not until I think September 4th.
Yeah, you have they have the tag climax coming up next, which is like, again, it's the reverse system here. Now the tag matches will be ranked in terms of point system. So obviously Block B was where most of the excitement was. It's where Kota Ibushi was. It's where Kenny Omega was. Kota, so many good matches. Every time I watch that,
and of course, don't forget. Also in B was the Firing Squad's formation, and they're feud within their own Bullet Club.
Yeah, he has a Bullet Club kind of into war going on. So every night was just, you never quite knew what was going to happen, and every time I was like, okay, let's just maybe skip this match. I want to watch the singles matches. You got drawn in because they did that. They put on this amazing promo at the beginning of the show, and you got sucked into the tag matches. Though sometimes you felt like you could skip them because they were generally lower on the card. And the most important thing you wanted to see was the one-on-one matches. And I don't think I saw one of them where I was ever disappointed, not once. I watched maybe 15 of those days, and I was just like, wow, that was incredible every time. And particularly the last two, the two finals, the finals going into the last few matches, the incredible emotion. I saw people crying in the crowd. People literally were just sobbing their hearts out in some of the results, and you're going, because they wanted their guy to win. You could see that they believed firmly in like fighting spirit, and these guys were putting it all out, and they seemed to wanted to always one up each other the night before, and the moves were getting a bit more dangerous. The matches were a bit more tight. They were not just 2.85s; they were 2.99s for kickouts, and you going, fuck me, man, how much more are you going to go? And these aren't special matches like ladders and tables and chairs. These are just one-on-one encounters. What told us a great story in the ring, and each time it always seemed to be different.
Yes, I mean, my favourite definitely was, I think it's the second time ever, Kota Ibushi versus Kenny Omega, the very final match of the round robin tournament itself. It was a thing of beauty. To say that these two are supposed to be gay lovers.
Well, yeah, they're the golden lovers. They utterly brotherly love. Yes. It's genuine.
They beat the tar out of each other.
Fuck yes, they
beat each other like they owed each other money. It's like, I could do this move, but I'm going to do this move off the apron, onto the edge of the apron, off the top rope.
The one move.
How badly I want to beat you.
Yeah, how much badly do I want to go one up on this? I guess we all really wanted to see Kenny Omega win, but we're kind of glad we didn't. We saw Kota Ibushi go over. But that's
just as an interesting note, between the two of them, they've only met one other time.
6 years ago.
Kota Ibushi won the first time.
6 years ago. I mean, that's a 6-year storyline that it actually feels real, because you've seen it. How obviously the Bullet Club formed. You've seen AJ Styles leave. You see Kenny become the leader of the Bullet Club and take over get the world title. Then he used Kota's finishing move to get that victory. What it took, and then you've seen how it went from like last year when he fought Chris Jericho. He broke through the glass ceiling of New Japan, and literally has become their big money maker player. And and you've seen him evolve, with being the Elite, the show that you see every week produced by the Young Bucks. And that effectively has been the backstage stuff that you would see in WWE rather than just the matches. So that has been their formulation of storyline. And you've seen how they've come together as the Golden Elite and now the four guys together, bringing it all in together. And now you've got the G1, the climax, that last battle was just incredible. The whole storyline of how real it felt. Because actually, it's probably more real than a wrestling show should be. Because, there really is a feeling behind it. And if you saw Being the Elite this week, you see the Young Bucks going, just don't kill each other tonight, guys. Just don't. Got All In coming up.
They stood in the neutral corner during that entire match.
Yeah. I like they were saying that they'd sold the arena out, and they'd sold it 140% capacity because there were still so many people outside queuing that they eventually let in, and they were just paying anything just to be around the back of the seats just to watch this match because of how important it was. And I was like, that is incredible.
I'm surprised they didn't have them cross-legged in front of the barriers.
Yeah, just up against the walls. We've got to see this match.
Yeah, I'm surprised all the sellotaping into the ceiling. Just anything. Everybody needed eyes on that match.
The one thing, that one move that really does, make me wince a bit is that German suplex that Kota Ibushi uses. On the
one off the ropes.
Yeah,
it's that's one of those moves we've talked about before. Where do you really need to do that?
Yeah. So if you don't know, basically it's Kota Ibushi standing on the inside second rope. And he kind of heaves them up when they're standing on the apron facing away, and he does a German suplex from there to the inside the ring, and the neck bump is just like, it ain't good. It ain't good at all. But
no, it's an incredible feat of strength to see him heave someone up from the apron, up to that rope, and then do the move. It is a tremendous feat of strength. But dear God, the landing, the landing is horrible.
That finish in that match, dude.
Yes.
That was just
Kota
like...
was looking for that knee the entire match.
Yeah. So
surprisingly, they only took one of those knees. But they did beat the tar out of each other.
Yeah, they really did. And then everyone came in and had a hug, and it was all love. And I know it's very rare I'll sit back and watch the press conference afterwards. For these two guys are absolutely exhausted. They're stood there talking afterwards. They're just both sat on the floor, just like head to head, just pouring and drenched with sweat. No, they just nearly killed each other.
Yeah, it was incredible work in the ring.
And then you had so on the final night you had, obviously Naito didn't win. He didn't win the block. Tanahashi did. So it lined up Tanahashi versus Kota Ibushi for the G1 Climax final, and that was just like a thing of beauty in itself. That was Sunday. I managed to watch that live. That was just an all-out just slugfest.
It was a war.
Yeah, and you really didn't know who actually was going to go over. Although it really felt like they were going to push Ibushi to go for Ibushi Omega 3 for Wrestle Kingdom, but no, it was Tanahashi took the victory with 3 high fly flow frog splashes for the win at the end.
Yeah, it seemed to have ended a little abruptly, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like he hit the one frog splash on, then the guy rolled over, hit on his back, and then hit on his chest, and they had a lot of power behind them. But I just didn't expect to see the victory then that sharply at that point. I was like, oh, okay, I thought it'd be a bit more than this. But
do you know what it probably was? What I think it probably was. I think it's the same reason that I thought I expected Kota to win.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think if Kota had won it, it would have felt like the end.
Yeah.
But it's because Tanahashi won it, and it just seemed to be so unexpected. It definitely was to myself. So, yeah, to me,
I guess we'll. So Wrestle Kingdom then. So Tanahashi's won the G1 Climax. You know, he's given his heart, his soul for that win. He did the whole Rockstar thing, which the fans just couldn't get enough of. And then so it means that the love, the heart and soul of what does he call himself? What what does Tanahashi call himself? The Ace of the Universe. The Ace of the Universe.
That's it.
Get up against Kenny Omega for the world title. New Japan.
As things stand today, as long as Omega's the title holder come Wrestle Kingdom 13, Tanahashi, Omega.
That's just, and they've not fought each other, have they? For a long time.
They fought each other one other time, and that was the 14th of February 2016 at the New Beginning.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Tanahashi took that.
So, because the Omega looking for that spurge of revenge. So, and the interesting aspect about that, of course, is that Kenny Omega's contract is up at the end of January, isn't it? January 16th or something like that.
Something like that. As are the Bucks.
As indeed are the Young Bucks. So, the potential is what could happen from there. Are New Japan going to go, you've made us a lot of money this past year. We need to offer you even bigger money for bank for you to stay here. And I do think it's probably worth them staying perhaps for another year or another period of time, because I think a lot of other guys have been elevated because of the Young Bucks and being the elite. Where if that was perhaps to drop off and become a WE project, which would happen if they move over to WE, I don't think the renaissance that's been happening in the independence that has rose up will continue. So it'll be nice to see if it doesn't.
It's a tricky one, because with All In and with Cody, obviously Cody's definitely got to be on the WE's radar again. I don't think he was ever off it.
No.
But he definitely will be now. And with All In, and I also understand that WE's aggressive talent scouting right now because of All In.
Yeah, they picked up Shane Strickland. They're going after Will Ospreay again. Yeah, Matt Riddle. So WWE desperately trying to get All In to be taken down a few notches. And I guess
it's difficult because they're already building a damn good card.
Yeah, their card looks fucking beautiful, which of course has been revealed this past few weeks now. So
yes, have you heard that Omega versus Pentagon has been officially confirmed?
I did say that. Yeah, I did. I saw the graphic before I saw being the elite. And I thought the way that they handled that was quite interesting. So I've had a Atari match here. Oh, he's that hardcore guy from Impact. So it'll be interesting how they're going to play that out, or whether that'll be the main event or not. Because I still think the main event perhaps should be the NWA title with his Nick Aldis and Kota. Sorry, Kota and Cody. Because of course it's his dad's belt. It
makes sense because on top of that, and also the fact that it's possibly the only title match they will have.
Yeah, it's obviously Cody's dad's belt. And if you saw the heel promo where it's like, I saw that on my dad's desk, throughout my time I was a kid. It's about time I had that belt. And Nick Aldis appears to have a whole new character about him. He's like an old school wrestler now. He's got a whole little thing going on with the head of the Smashing Pumpkins. He's got a show going off at Madison Square Garden himself. That whole NWA Renaissance thing is a really powerful part, and I think that plays in really nicely to All In, being that the belt means something again.
Yeah, it's nice that the NWA title means something. I mean, it's the oldest professional wrestling title in the world.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it leads back to something like
1903,
1905.
Yeah, it's weird when you think about world title belts actually, because I think in terms of the ones that's actually defended that has some grandiose, I definitely think the NWA title does, and I think the New Japan definitely does. The IWGP definitely feels like it, because you have to fucking work for it. And the Ring of Honor title as well has that prestige about it. WWE titles appear to, they're hot potato, they swap around as and when. Which is a bit weird to think, because that's the one that makes the most money.
You say that because the WWE title, AJ Styles won it in November. No? In November? Yeah, it was the build-up to Survivor Series last year. So he's held that title for a long time. And Brock Lesnar's title,
like 500 days or something.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Year and a half. Longer than CM Punk.
It's crazy, isn't it? How perceptions is thrown off.
I'll tell you what it is, and this is what we covered before. It's because there are too many titles. there are so many titles in WWE.
That they don't
I
mean as
can
much.
see why they have so many titles. I mean, you've got with the NXT UK brand coming up, it makes sense that you would have more more titles. So I can understand why, and with the rumors of more title belts even being bought in,
Yeah,
I
women's
can
tag
see
team title. I
why.
can make that sense.
The cruiserweight tag team titles as well as a possibility, and already definitely confirmed is the UK women's title, UK tag titles.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with the NXT being an extension of the NXT UK, I think they should just have a tag team title between the both. But, let's see how it plays out.
It's difficult to say. I mean, the idea is that they've got a brand for the UK, so they don't have to send them everywhere. And
Yeah.
all the rings.
Yeah, you can have them.
UK.
Yeah, you can have them based here. And obviously they're touring between, like, what's it? Plymouth, Manchester, Glasgow, and Dublin. I think it is. They're going to be cycling around, I guess. But I guess
there's a lot of wrestling to come up to be watching.
Far too much. No, it's not far too much. We're wrestling fans. So I guess that leads us on quite nicely to World of Sport. The kind of the elephant in the fucking room there, because the whole reason why the WWE created its UK tournament and obviously wanted to expand to the UK is basically was the return of World of Sport, which is a big thing actually, because the WWE took quite a few wrestlers from there back in the 80s. And if you remember, it was going to be a once upon a time, not Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. It was going to be Giant Haystacks, the British guy versus Hulk Hogan for the whole Scoop Slam thing. And it's only because he wasn't available. It didn't happen. So WWE must have felt really threatened by the geopolitics of World of Sport coming back, that they went all out after the UK talent, and did. And then they just kind of like left him on the shelf for almost a year and a half, because nothing happened with World of Sport. And then World of Sport did the one-off show, which was okay. And then, of course, it launched itself 3 weeks ago.
Not okay.
Okay.
That was not okay.
No, okay,
it was a punch in the crotch. That's exactly what that was.
Yeah, it was.
The one-off one, I couldn't finish it.
Apparently, it had like ratings of like 13 million people watched it. And you know what? That actually is really embarrassing, because it makes me go, for fuck's sake, that's what they think British wrestling's all about. That hurts. And of course, so World of Sport, the premiere had something like 9 million people watch or something. That's a 9.1. It's like 1.2 million people were watching or something. And then the second episode was like nearly half, like 600,000. And I was like, I know why that was. That's fucking Grado. I'm sure the guy at a pub is going to be a fucking great laugh, and I'm sure he's a bit of fun when you talk to him. And he puts on a very good performance, but he's just like this kind of bombastic, happy chappy that the fans love, but in a studio environment where you're told by a fucking producer going applause and boo, the atmosphere of what Grado brings together a live show doesn't work. And as such, he feels like a forced face character who you don't care about. And that first show of a World of Sport was awful. Because I don't know if you've actually seen that first episode. You had a 5-way match, which was a number one contenders match. The first guy DQ'd himself. The second guy did a dodgy roll-up pin immediately after. The two guys couldn't work out who the actual victor was. The referee made a misspot call, and then the guy who was Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, he basically, as the executive of the show, had to make a call there and then, and it really felt like he had to, because the how bad that botch was at the end. It didn't make any sense, and there was a 3-way match at the end. The Will Ospreay match was pretty good, but the camera work is utterly atrocious. It literally switches between camera like second after second after second, and there's no time where a guy can look at the camera. It certainly feels like World of Sport was filmed by guys who've never filmed a wrestling show before. The thing is, though, it's pre-recorded. Come on.
Yeah, surely you could have got something together. I mean, seriously, did the show have to be filmed by a drunk 4-year-old?
And the ring is blue, which looks okay. The entranceway looks fine. The audience is probably about 200 people, with lots of heavy lighting going on. It looks very stylized. It looks like an ITV production of like Saturday Night Takeaway with a wrestling ring, which is not a bad thing. I guess that's the audience they're kind of going for. It's that kind of 5 o'clock on a Saturday, sorry. I get why they've done it, but it doesn't feel like a wrestling show. It really feels like a studio show with wrestling, and it really hurts it. It comes across as cheesy. It comes across as cheap. It doesn't feel like it has much value or grandiose. The second episode was much better. The wrestling show was a better show, but they had a ladder match on it with no reason or no purpose. But it was a decent match. They had a women's match, which was good, although the characters in it, which was Kaylee Ray, Bea Priestley, and Viper, all put on a good match. But they kind of felt like they were reversing their kind of roles that were already created. So Viper generally wrestles face. She was wrestling heel. Kayla Ray seems to flip between and does quite well. Bea Priestley usually heel but acted face. And it's like, so the match really felt a bit disjointed. But it was a good match where Kayla Ray obviously won the women's title for World of Sport. They also can't seem to work out whether they're calling it WOS or World of Sport. And it has the most cheesiest sponsor you've ever seen. It's so bad. It's sponsored by icelolly.com, which is some kind of holiday fucking show. And it's some girl who sounds like she's presenting the Marks and Spencer advert, which doesn't help. And it's like, oh, we're going on our holidays today with icelolly.com. Oh, let's get in the ring and have a wrestle. And it's what the fuck? It's just. Oh, I'm gonna have to wrestle you now for that bench, or for that like deck chair. And it's like, what the fuck? And like the adverts for it are like Wills. I mean, heck, you've sold Wills over the phone, man, so you know how bad that is.
Oh dear God.
Heineken and Mars bar. Just like, okay, I get the Mars thing. But trying to sell insurance to people, insurance and wills, you know, the kind of main prime advertisement they've sold for World of Sport. And it's like, what are you doing?
Do you know what would be really embarrassing? When they try and do a WWE thing where they have a themed no DQ match and it will be all holiday things.
You know what, that could happen. I mean, it's not that it's look, it's wrestling. It's back on TV. British wrestling is on TV again. And the matches they're having aren't bad. But the style of it is really poor. And it's filmed really amateurish. And it really shows. And because of that, I think it really hurts wrestling a bit at the same time. Which is disappointing.
The worst thing will be is the WWE will do a much better production job with NXT UK.
Yeah.
Because it's like Kevin Nash once says. WCW, they're a production company that makes a wrestling show.
Yeah.
WWE, they're a wrestling company that makes a TV show.
Yeah.
And that's what WWE do probably better than anybody anywhere on the planet.
They do. And it's interesting. We talked about one of the things I wanted to talk about really was camera production, camera work. So I guess this actually ties into it quite nicely in many ways. There's a bit of a segue, really. So watching World of Sport, so that's a few of the things. The camera is slightly offset, tilted slightly, so the bottom of the ring, the hard camera, looks weird. It looks like angled, which really puts you off on looking at the hard cam. And they switch the camera constantly, but then it goes from literally so close-up shots where you've just got a shot of the guy's shoulder and his head, and then they zoom out manually, and it looks like, what the fuck is this going on about? It's really poorly done. The thing is that it's pre-recorded. Surely you could edit this post-edit, because I would, because it comes across poorly. Psych yourself out, I guess. I don't know. So what the fuck are we talking about?
Where you just switch to production value.
Yes.
We've just absolutely sacrificed World of Sport.
We have.
We've gone over their versions of not editing the best angles and why you wouldn't edit the best angles. You've got all these cameras all running feed. Why wouldn't you? It doesn't make any sense.
No. So another problem is their replays. The replays are full screen, but the recorded live footage is clearly still happening in the ring, and they've just overlaid on the front a replay, but the replay is in red, white, and blue, like it's been filtered. So it's like, well, no, why would you do that? It comes across really poor. So then when I think of like New Japan's production, where you have a very good hard cam which is quite far back, another hard cam that's a bit closer, and then you have like your camera guys around the ring focusing on guys running into the camera. So particularly Kenny Omega's like his V-trigger that's always done towards the camera, as opposed to just watching it go across. I think that's a really interesting shot. And in New Japan also, you got guys like Okada, where he's obviously in the ring and calls for his Rainmaker, and the camera pans backwards to see how vast his empire is, how Godzilla he is over how he controls the world. And that's a really interesting shot, and I wouldn't see anything like that on World of Sport. And the high definition cameras are really good, really sharp. The black's always really good on New Japan, but the color on World of Sport is just this. It's gymnasium blue. It's the ring match you had when you were at school, those soft memory foam ones, all the way around the ring, and the ring is covered in that, and it's just like it really cheapens what should be the rival to WWE on British TV, but it looks cheap. It looks so cheap. What it needs to, and unfortunately they've pre-recorded 10 episodes, so the production quality is not going to get any better, because I think they filmed like 3 or 4 episodes of the show on one day. Obviously the editing's already been pre-done, and it's just going to come across as being poor, unfortunately. So 10 weeks of just dire wrestling quality on TV. Perhaps he's going to kill it permanently.
And do you know what? The only thing that has probably got worse production value is Ring of Honor in their very early days.
Yeah, but Ring of Honor quality now is just spot on. Their quality work is good. But
it's good, but I wouldn't say it was spot on. I mean, Impact Wrestling's got much better production. You can see that.
Yeah. That's a fair point, actually.
I mean, it's good production, but once you see Impact Wrestling's in comparison, it's a noticeable step up.
Well, do you think that's down to the cameras themselves? Because I mean, TNA's been filmed in HD since the beginning. I mean, the NWA TNA days. It was shot obviously on a high definition channel as well. So to find that now, how HD is standard, but is it the camera quality? Because that's the feed that goes into obviously the production itself.
I think it's got something to do with the quality. I mean, even James Cornette said that Ring of Honor should be spending money on their production things. I mean, they've been in business now since 2002, the same time as Impact, TNA, NWA, TNA, whichever rendition of the company you want to go by. It's been going since 2002, both of them.
Yeah.
And Ring of Honor's improved to a certain point, but it's still behind.
Yeah, I can see that with some regards. I mean, what would you think would take it to the next level? Because I mean, their entranceway is quite good now. They have the 2 screens either side, proper grand entranceway. They seem to have got that correct. The most of black out a lot of the background, which looks quite good. Is it just the fact they've got? Is it the cameras are roaming around the outside? Is it the hard cam? Or
I think the roaming cameras are probably the worst. I think they've probably spent more money on the hard.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. We'll see.
I feel that ECW probably had better cameras back when.
Yeah, I recently watched ECW pay-per-views. We're going through the WWE Network, and we watched like some 1977 matches. What were on there on the hidden gems, and we watched an ECW pay-per-view from 2000. Because Jason's never seen a Tajiri and Wacky Whipwreck match. It was like, I know what we're watching.
God.
And it's the FBI, and it was like, oh, that's great. And then we watched the Double Jeopardy.
That needed to be remedied.
Yeah, we was. It was actually when we see that the main event, of course, of that show was the Double Jeopardy match, where you had Steve Corino. 2 matches in one ring. Yeah, so you had Steve Corino and the Sandman versus. And then there was Jerry Lynn versus Just Incredible. So it's 2 matches in the same ring at the same time, and the winner of both of those matches fought each other for the world title. Great idea. Not been done since.
No, technically it was just a quick tournament.
Yeah.
But all 3 matches done inside one ring, pretty much, just straight away.
Yeah, a good idea. Actually, it came off really well. Everyone could interact with each other. Everyone could fight each other. But and there was a double count pin as well. It was great. Fans were just like,
yeah, nothing like that's been done since. I tell you something that used to drive me crazy about ECW. Do you know when they used to do the snap punches or any kind of punches actually. They used to do the thing when they used to zoom the camera in and zoom back out, in,
Yeah.
in. And I've noticed the WWE started doing it. And I don't know if they've stopped now, but for a little while they were doing it.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, just for a month or so. And every so often the WWE try to do something different. And thank God they stopped doing that because that's just nauseating.
Yeah. Well, you just feel getting disorientated just by watching a match, and you should just be watching as is.
See, the thing is, the WWE definitely. I mean, New Japan's camera work fantastic, but
Yeah.
WWE's is always going to be worlds apart. But that doesn't stop them from doing some stupid things. Over the years, there's certain things that really tick me off. The zooming in on impact shots and things that, and then back out in, out. That drives me just crazy.
Yeah.
There's times even the WWE have missed shots. I mean, 3 prime examples from myself was one of the very earliest episodes of Raw. It was Rick the Model Martel versus Razor Ramon, and during the match, they're into a pretty decent match. It's coming towards the end of the match, and they do the thing that they do today: go to break during the match. What they did on this episode of Raw was when they came back to Raw, the match had ended.
But was it live at that time?
So what was that?
Was it still live at that time?
It had to have been, because if they missed the end of a match on a taping, what were they doing?
Yeah, I guess. And that's the TV company going, no, this is time for our adverts. We're going to we'll overlay that into your show.
But that was 1993. You'd think, okay, mistakes are made sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's not like that's the only time. Another prime example, a very good match, Raven versus Rhino, Backlash 2001, hardcore title match, brilliant match. And during the finish, they cut to a replay, and the finish happens in a small box in the corner.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
And that always drove me crazy because that was a great match. That was one of like those hardcore title highlights.
Yeah, W had a few of those actually around this time. I did there. That was an exceptional match.
Yes, it was a very good match. It was a rare time to see Rhino versus Raven as well.
It was, yeah. And Rhino looks like he hasn't changed.
No, he's still a walking wall with legs.
Yeah,
He's a huge, wide man.
very wide as
muscle. 2000. Yeah, to say that was the Raw 1993. That Backlash 2001, and it hasn't ended there. Royal Rumble 2016. This was a perfect one. Roman Reigns cleared the ring. He's in the Royal Rumble match. No one's there, and then this strange music comes on. And it's AJ Styles. And instead of finding out who it is on the Titantron, or what it's called now, there's I am AJ Styles. Of course, we don't see that. We're too busy looking at Roman Reigns' not very bright face.
Yeah. Oh, but then the camera does actually pan to it, where you see it's kind of close up on AJ, and you see a pan of the I am phenomenal. I think if you were actually there at the arena, you'd probably just blown your socks off. But yeah, it did seem. But the camera was really
everyone
close.
Everyone at home's looking at Roman Reigns, going, who's this? I don't understand. What is happening?
But that music, when it first came out, I was like, what the fuck is this? It's grown on me since then.
I know. It still hasn't grown on me. And as far as things growing on you, just remember this. If you're not careful, fungus will grow on you as well.
I actually quite liked it in TNA when he had his last run in TNA. He was a heel. He was a vicious heel as well, and he was coming out to Evil Ways as his entrance music, and he had his kind of hood up, and that's when he stopped using his Styles Clash and was using his Cuff Killer as his finisher, and he had this brutal match against Jeff Hardy, and I loved it. Jeff was just being a full-on babyface, and AJ was as this hated heel who was just doing his own thing. He was sick to death of the company, and he was the heel, and it looked like he was himself, and it was like, I believed that.
Yeah, it was definitely frustrating times, and clearly he was frustrated. That's why he left.
Yeah, and then
New
New Japan were like,
few
hey,
years in New Japan, and then WWE just went, thank you.
yoink. So, dude, let's go segue then. Let's go segue with an animation sequence here. Um, Wrestling games. You're a gamer, right? This is part of this is our moniker, right? So, Wrestle DX plus Alpha. Of course, it has a full moniker there to wrestling games and gaming in general. So, you and I have played wrestling games since the very, very beginning. What stands out?
Again, what stands out?
So early
Well,
days.
the early days of wrestling games was awful.
Yeah.
Let's just put it how it was. I mean, my very first game that I had was on the Master System.
Yeah, I had that
and
one.
It was just pro wrestling.
Just pro wrestling, yeah.
And it was short, stumpy things with huge heads.
Thumbs with just coloured legs, yeah.
Yes. And it was basically a punch kick fight, and then I think there may have been a power slam or something. And
I had a pinfall.
A pin.
Yeah, that was it. And I was like, oh, this is wrestling. But there was some good. There was some good attempts before that, right? There was attempts on the NES. There was attempts on the earlier consoles, like Atari, to bring wrestling, I guess, to the home market and to the arcade. But I guess wrestling really, it didn't look like WWE. It didn't look like New Japan or All Japan at that time. So until I guess the 16-bit era, which I guess perhaps is where we should begin, perhaps, and then look back on a different episode.
Yes, it's definitely where we should look. The 16-bit era, surprisingly, the Super Nintendo, particularly with the Japanese market, had so many professional wrestling games on it. It is absolutely astounding. Researching for this segment of our show, I came across games I'd never even heard of. I mean, there's all the Fire Pro Wrestling games, there's the New Japan games, there's All Japan. There was the women's title, the women's titles.
Yoshiba Wrestling, yeah.
There was so many. There were titles I didn't even know was out there. I mean, there's a Stardust Suplex. I'm sure you've never even heard of that.
No, I'm looking at you going.
And that's on the Super Nintendo.
Obviously, the Super Nintendo, as you said, had tons of Fire Pro Wrestling games, and every one of them was great. And I'm looking down this list that you've compiled together. And I can see Shugo Katayoki Astral Bout, American Tag Team Wrestling. That's a little earlier, actually. Man, I'm just looking. So yeah, three count bout on the Neo Geo. It has Anita Otobushi on FMW. FMW had a game. What was that?
Yes. I know. I was like, oh. And you know the really crazy thing was, I actually had it on emulation and never really picked up on it.
I can't.
I've had it for years.
FMW, the most extreme wrestling game in the fucking world, had a game and I didn't even know. I didn't know that until I saw this list.
It is just ridiculous list.
So let's stick with the 60.
How many games on there?
So, like I said, it's Japanese audience, wasn't it? That was where the big market in terms of wrestling games was. And if you were an importer at the time, I guess you got to see lots and lots of different wrestling games. In the UK, however, we really just got a filter of what was coming through the US. So we definitely had there was quite a few WF games came through. What other ones stood out? What were the what was the 16-bit era like for wrestling in the UK? Because the ones I can really remember are WF Superstars on the Mega Drive, and I guess there was the arcade game, which was the Mortal Kombat type game, and there was Steel Cage Challenge.
For the 16 bits, for Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, it was the Royal Rumble. Sorry, WWF Royal Rumble, WWF Raw, WWF Super WrestleMania, and then the Mortal Kombat style one was WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
And that was followed up by In Your House, wasn't it? That actually had finishers, which
It
were
was.
fucking like arcade machines
Yes.
falling from the sky and silly things and cars going through.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we owned them.
To be honest, it was good enough to be different. I enjoyed it for what it was. If you were looking for a strategic wrestling game, don't look here.
No.
If you wanted a bit of an arcade blast, a bit of a laugh, that's it. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And I seem to remember like the that got released on the Saturn and the PlayStation as well. The arcade game did, and that's when the wrestling games got. Shall we say the 3D ones kind of came along and they tried to take the simulation style on a little bit better.
Yes.
But so
I mean,
what other titles stood out at 16-bit then?
After after WrestleMania, the arcade game, that arcadeness of it, the next title for me that came along when I first got my PlayStation was Power Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, dude, Power Move for Wrestling. Love that game.
That's right, a fictitious roster, but it had the full strategic idea of being careful, wearing down your opponent, doing moves at the right time.
Yeah, counters, camera angles. Yeah,
Okay.
it was good. Actually, for its time, I think that was probably one of the better wrestling games. Like I say, it was non-licensed, so there was characters in it. I think there was like General Og. I think was one of them, and was one of the main characters. I seem to remember was in there, and they had like lots of different wrestling styles in the game as well. There was a lucha libre character. There was a female Yoshipuro kind of character. There was strong style. There was American pro wrestle, like Hogan style wrestler. But yeah, you're right. That was a really good game. That was early 3D, so it doesn't look too great now. But at its time, it was a big difference compared to the arcade blasts that we'd had on the 16-bit era.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom got in on the action with Mortal Bomber Duo, or Saturday Night Slammers.
Saturday Night Slam Masters. Fucking love that game.
That's right. Yes. And then, of course, SNK got in there with their 3-count bout and their strange wrestling game of King of the Monsters 1. Not 2, because that was completely different. But number 1, essentially, it was a wrestling game. It was 2 giant monsters. You button mash to do moves. There's some sort of electric fence that acted as if it was ring ropes.
And
You also got bonuses for smashing up the city and using that on your opponent. And at the end, after you knocked him down, you actually pinned them.
In fact, it was a wrestling game with Godzilla.
That's it. Again, it was a nice change of pace. It was a bit ridiculous, but hey.
I think the wrestling actually has always kind of played to that, though, isn't it? It's played to being... It's almost silly. It's over the top, its characters. So I guess, actually, it could work even today. You know, you could throw on a Godzilla and Gamera into a wrestle-style arena. Actually, you'd play it and go, it's not too bad. It's all right.
To be honest, there has been later incarnations of such games. They are listed on here as well. I mean, in fact, actually, there was a very rare Mega Drive game called Beast Wrestler. And that was wrestling with an RPG twist to it. You should check that out.
All right, man. So I think... so of the major wrestling companies then, so we had the WF games that came out, so like... but WCW had a SNES entry, right? And I think there was even a NES entry, I think. But I can remember...
Yes, that's right, yes.
WCW...
and a couple of Game Boy as well.
Super Brawl, I think, was the SNES one. And yeah, there was
That's right.
And there was the main event on the Game Boy. I did own Super Brawl, and it wasn't awful, but it wasn't good. It sat somewhere between... But I could tell it what it was trying to be. That was it. I seem to remember it had like the kind of isometric, but they kind of fought side on.
With the whole wrestling games of the 16-bit era, a lot of it was very limited moves. It was the characters looked very similar. The actions were very linear, with the exception of a finishing move. Everybody had the same moves.
Yeah.
Although WWF Raw, the characters did have slightly different moves.
Yeah, that was the Mega Drive and SNES one, wasn't it? Where I think actually
right.
it was, I think LGN, the legendary, terrible video game producer, I think was the developer of that. But you're right, it actually had finishing moves as well. You know, like the little power bar you had, you whacked the button as hard as you could, and then if the power bar got high enough, you could execute your finishing move. I think there was like in that bar, you can whack your button and you can get to a certain point that would execute like a fall-away slam or a power bomb or something. So actually, it had a decent amount of moves for the game at the time, and it had some half-decent animation. I think pretty cool.
Yeah, for WWF Raw, they tried to do as much as they possibly could. It was the first one that was 4-player. It had the Royal Rumble option with a maximum of 6 characters in the ring at one time. There were, I think it was 12 wrestlers in there.
So
12 wrestlers.
a decent attempt at the time, right? So but then you had like WrestleFest, everyone's favorite, the arcade one, right?
Oh, yes. Was that 91 or 92?
Yeah, so we're talking the 16-bit era. It was arcade only at the time, wasn't it? It didn't even get a home release
That's
until
right.
like what,
Yes. No, never did.
96? No, so
No,
no.
they tried to redo it for the
The modern era, wasn't it?
iPhones
That was it.
back
My phone.
2012,
Yeah,
and it looked like they was going to do it on the Xbox 360, but they never released it. They changed their minds. I was all poised for it. I read about it and thought, yes, I'm having that.
yeah, because I can remember like
But
seeing the
no,
Miz and John Cena
yeah.
in there and stuff, but yeah, it never came off. Which is disappointing
I
because
was
that,
all gutted.
for a lot of people, that actually is the Epoch arcade wrestling game.
Yeah. The old school button mashing, the larger than life characters is very well done. It was pleasant to look at, and it really did have an arcade feel.
Yeah, it felt like an arcade game, didn't it? So I guess it wasn't trying to be silly. It wasn't trying to be over the top. It wasn't trying to be like WrestleMania was. Actually, it was trying to be an arcade game. It was fun, but everything looked like
Fighting game.
yeah. And arcade fighting games at the time, I guess, were still your Street Fighter 2 had hit the market by then, maybe.
It was round there. If not, it was definitely Street Fighter 1,
Yeah, that was.
which was not the game breaker that
Yeah, no,
number 2 definitely was.
no. So like Fire Pro, I guess Fire Pro is going to be in there for my mention because of course Fire Pro it's now coming to the PlayStation. Doesn't have a UK release date yet. Disappointing. And I've tweeted Spike a couple of times about a European release date, and they're like, they said it's going to come, but not actually said when it's going to come yet. It's got a Japan release now. I think it's like the 15th of August. So I think it's going to be out in Japan tomorrow. I think. America doesn't even have a release date yet, although it does say there's going to be an American release, but it doesn't say when. Which
Yeah,
is
they
a bit
did the same with Returns as well. That never got a UK release.
no, very
Yeah.
weird. I actually made a video about that right back like when that game came out. You can probably still find it on my YouTube channel. So I emailed the company who did the translation for the European market, a company called 505 Games. They're based in the UK. They bought the license from Spike. They translated it into English, into Spanish and French and into German, but didn't release it here. They only released it in Italy. So what the fuck is that all about? And at that time, of course, Impact was doing quite well. Ring of Honor had already done 2 tours over here. WWE was doing really well. And it was like, wrestling is on fire. Right? Why are you not going to publish this? And I actually got an email back from them going, we didn't think there was the audience in the UK for a wrestling game that is Japanese-based characters.
The thing is, right now, I can only call it the success of New Japan. Having Fire Pro Wrestling plastered with New Japan wrestlers all over the front of it.
Yeah.
How is that not going to take off?
I mean, in that case actually looks pretty sweet, having the side-by-side of the characters with the logo at the bottom. That looks fucking sweet. So I really want a physical release of this. I mean, I'm sure I could get. If it's going to come out, it's going to hit PlayStation Network for sure. I want a physical release because it's probably going to be a limited run. I want my hands on it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I've got the PC one on Steam and stuff because I did the. I supported their Kickstarter and stuff back when they did the early Greenlight release. I paid like £15 for it. Love it. It's got there's 93 pages. I looked earlier of 50 characters per page of downloads. There's something 193,000 downloads on there of just DLC characters and costumes and rings and ring buckles and arenas and so on. So whatever wrestling fan you are, even the silly ones, they're all in there for sure already. So you can already play as New Japan in there because the wrestlers are already there, and all moves are already being created in there. So there's create finishes is all on there as well. So it really is something quite special to play as well.
Do you know what's really insane? How the UK has never really had too many Fire Pro Wrestling releases, and yet the Fire Pro Wrestling games have been going since '89.
Yeah, dude, it really has. I mean, I think there was Super Fire Pro Wrestling was released here. We certainly didn't get the Saturn one. We might have got the PlayStation one. Might have. But I'm not sure.
I don't think we did. We got a couple on the DS. No,
No,
the
you're
Game
right.
Boy Advance.
Yeah, because I have those. Yeah.
The Game Boy Advance. There was that god awful one on the 360.
It doesn't count, man. It doesn't fucking count.
No, it shouldn't count. I don't know why it's even got the name of it. It's
So,
just
okay, why are we saying that? Because I guess if you haven't seen it, if you're a Fire Pro Wrestling fan, Fire Pro Wrestling basically is isometric ring, very strategic kind of wrestling game. This one is a complete arcade game. This is just... No, it's not an arcade game. It's just shit. It has the the Microsoft Avatar characters, like the Microsoft Mii's, basically. It's them who wrestle, and it's just shit. And it's not even isometric. It's side on instead of standard wrestling view, and it's just a very poor moveset. And I don't even know how they managed to license the name to call it Fire Pro, let alone anything else.
No, it is the very sore thumb of the entire series.
Yeah, it's probably they probably just picked up the name and hoped it'd sell on it because it was shit. I mean,
And
we're
it's
going.
probably because of that is why we haven't got Fire Pro Wrestling Returns and Fire Pro Wrestling World.
You know, it probably is something led into that because it's always based on what the previous one had done. Well, this game did shit, so we're not going to be throwing any money at this one. Why publicise this one if the last one did terrible? Which is a bad benchmark, really, because sometimes you have to reset it to go, wait, this will sell because we've got this, and this, and there's a gaming market out there who want it. But until you reach that point, it's never going to happen.
It's crazy because Fire Pro Wrestling is like a whole bunch of Lamborghinis, and we're not allowed them. And then they gave us a Skoda, and because we hated the Skoda, we're not getting the Lamborghinis.
That's a good analogy, but yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is. Come on, man. We need this game. We need it. Every wrestling fan out there wants this. New Japan is riding high right now. Wrestling is taking off again. This whole renaissance going on. So this game's going to come out. It better come out. If not, I'm going to have to import another one.
Yeah, I'd definitely import it anyway.
Because the thing is that PlayStation 4 is
just
multi-region, so...
It'd just be so much easier to not have to import it.
Yeah. I don't want to go down that route again. I'd spent far too much money on import games back in the day. Not doing that again.
As did I.
Yeah, not doing that again. Don't have as much cash in the bank for that. So, dude, that's been our 16-bit and a little bit more chat here. Whacking my table here. So we've talked wrestling. We've talked... What have we talked about tonight? What are we going to cover? Let's go for a quick flashback then. So we covered Jim Neidhart passing, Dean Ambrose's return. We covered the breakdown of NXT TakeOver, SummerSlam, G1 Climax, what's going to happen in the future potentially. We've even covered World of Sport, and then we've gone into games as well, as always. We've covered the 16-bit era of wrestling games. So whether you like it or love it, let us know. Please tell us. We need to know. We need to know whether this is actually worth continuing. We think it is. We want to talk. We want you to listen, and we want your feedback. Come and talk to us. Just leave us a message below. Hit us up on Facebook or whatever. Give us a like. Give us a chat. And just talk to us. Let us know this is what you want to see, and how do you think we can make it better. We know that we kind of go off on tangent, but actually, it's part of the fun because we're wrestling fans and we're gaming fans. So hopefully you are too. So make sure you say something, please.
Please add us some questions as well. We'd love to answer any of your questions. As soon as we possibly can, we'll get it out on video for you. Between the two of us, we can definitely answer just about any question.
I think so too. All right, dude. So till next time, that's Kristian, that's Kevin, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.